I passed the 1 year mark of actually posting videos consistently on YouTube every single week, and it has been an interesting year, like to say the least. And if you're watching this on video, you can see I have a new arm stand, so this just feels so much better because I can actually sit up straight while I'm talking. And for those of you listening, it was just a like $15 Amazon arm stand for the microphone, but that's besides the point. So again, going back to it's been 1 full year. So I had started posting April 2022, April 29th. Yeah, if I have that correct. And we just passed April 29th a couple days ago at the time of this recording. And it really has been a good learning experience throughout the past year in trying to understand why I've gone back to YouTube, why I've gone back to trying to create content while still working on a normal career as well, because options are important. And also understanding, again, the greater kind of curiosity of mine. YouTube's been something that I've always loved doing. So, welcome back to episode 3 of the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. My name is Michael Klukas. I'm your host and fellow learner, and just trying to go through the world of life and career and keeping everything simple because it's complex and stressful enough as it is, and it doesn't have to be that way. You deserve a life and career that you love, and I want to help you find out what that is just as much as I'm finding that out for myself too. So let's do a year in review. What had happened last year in April is that I had quit my job in retail. So I had been working in retail for, at that point, about 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, I think. And it was fun. I'm not going to deny that. Looking back at my time, so when I first started, I was a part of a small team and promoted very quickly after a year to do that double promotion to be a team leader who was just a step below the store director and was managing a team and hopefully leading them, not just managing them. And the thing is, it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And I had a great team who I was so happy to work with. It's just the problem was I was getting burnt out. And looking back, hindsight being 2020, and the time I've spent away from it and the time I've worked on myself in this past year, I can look back on it and say I was just getting so burnt out. And the fact that I wanted to get out of retail. I had wanted to do something different. And that wasn't the way it had started. When I got into that role, things were a little bit on fire. There was a lot of hiccups, and there's no denying that. However, there was still a good pathway before me, a pathway that I saw as feasible, one that I could work on, one that I could grow in, and one that I could hopefully help some people in. And then as we progressed and leadership changed, and as things kind of went through the holiday season, it had just become clear to me that the original 50 hours in which I had agreed to was probably not going to come back, at least for a while. It was going up to like the 60 hours. There was one of the worst days that I possibly had, in which I worked 17 hours. So that was, if I'm doing the math right, so 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. That was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I wish I would have had the foresight to say, I need to step back and really evaluate how I'm going to change fields, change directions, because through every phase in your life, you're going to need to change directions. And that's something I didn't know. That's something at that time I had unfortunately fallen victim to following a funny joke on the internet. I say fallen victim to, it was more like people told me not to do it, and I had decided, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go do this. Yeah, that's not a good idea. If everyone's telling you not to do something, and even you have an inkling that's probably not the best idea, please don't follow through with it. Like, step back, reconsider, and maybe choose a more mature or reasonable course of action. So for those of you who would watch the video on my YouTube channel about why I left retail, you would know that I used a condolence letter or condolence card as my 2 weeks letter, my 2 weeks resignation notice. Yeah. If you can see it on camera, you can see the regret on my face, and if you can hear it, there's just a lot of regret there. I shouldn't have done that. And I highly encourage, and I have been encouraging anyone who is looking to change fields, looking to change jobs, please don't do that. Please give a proper 2 weeks notice as applicable to your state, to your country, whatever it is, because the ability to maintain a good, healthy network and relationship with your employers and former employers is super important in your careers down the line. So do things the proper way. And there are points where, like I said, I was burnt out. I was so tired and so just worn down that I just wanted to, bite the bullet essentially and just get it over with. And the unfortunate part was, because of that, I wasn't able to fulfill some of the last goals that I had. So setting up the team for success a bit more, passing over some connections that I was using or that I had built during that time. There was just things that I wasn't able to do because of my unfortunate decision to use a disrespectful way of resigning. So again, if you take anything away from this, please don't do that. I have to say, please do things the proper way. You are going to appreciate it so much more in the future. So what happened after that? I then took, I would call it a sabbatical. Now, what you define as sabbatical may differ. It essentially was after I left that job, I had then taken a couple weeks, so it was only 2 weeks or so at that time, to just rest, relax, play some video games. I was playing Breath of the Wild a lot of Mario Kart, a lot of Smash Bros, because I just needed to kind of recalibrate, recenter, and let myself rest because, again, I was burnt out. And I've always actually done YouTube in some form or another. I haven't made any of my videos private, which may actually be a really bad idea. So if you go to Michael Klukas at YouTube or on YouTube, you can scroll back down and you can see some of my oldest videos. And that's about 10 years old. No, the channel or the videos are about almost 10 years old. I was not 10 years old, but I was close because I was in middle school posting YouTube videos. And I continued it through high school as well. I didn't really stop until my junior or senior year of high school for posting videos. And so I took a step back and I tried to start the channel again as a spray paint YouTube channel because I do spray paint art. It's a hobby of mine, a pastime, and something that I find to be super fun. And I got into it when I was about 18 or 19. And going forward, I had thought maybe I can make a channel off of this. I've seen some other people do some big things with it, and I've seen their collaborations they've done, the art they've done. It's been so cool. Maybe I'd like to do that. Yeah, that didn't really stick. A lot of things happened at that point in time when I was still in college, because that's when I had thought about, or when I was just out of college, and I thought about starting that channel that way, but it was kind of hard to balance it out, and also it wasn't as inspiring. It was fun to make the art, and I love making the art still. It's just, it wasn't something that had fueled me to continue making videos constantly. So I changed gears. And last year, April 2022, I uploaded my first video talking about why I left retail, what you probably shouldn't do, and a little bit of my story behind it and my reasoning behind why I left, as well as the whole kind of debacle that followed, which again was mostly caused because of my immaturity. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of, you really want to learn lessons different ways, and that's just one of the hard lessons I had to learn because of my own mistakes and because of my own ego, or not even ego, but just bruised ego, I think is the best way to look at that. So I posted my first video then, and I haven't missed a week since, which is cool. That's actually really cool to look back on and say. I have done a lot during that time. I've gone on trips. I went to Hawaii at one point for my cousin's golf tournament, but then I had made sure to I brought my laptop with me, and this was like my main setup was I used my laptop as my workstation at home, and I took that with me, which I never do because I wanted to not miss an upload. So I'm editing on the plane and I'm editing in the hotel room while I'm waiting for people to pick me up. I'm sitting there in the airport editing away. I had a little flash drive that I took all my assets from my hard drive for and just plugged that in, was working away at it. It was a time. But just as a whole, this was a good comparison between when I started trying to do spray paint as the YouTube channel versus now where I'm talking about development in your careers and in your life and leadership and just trying to build a life and career that you actually love and that you enjoy and that fills you with excitement. I haven't missed a week. And I'm actually really proud of that. And I'm going to take a moment just to be really happy for the fact that I was able to keep that up. And I plan to keep it up too. And there's been a lot of things I tried in the meantime. So there was the shorts, which I still need to get better at. There's posting content consistently on Instagram and LinkedIn. LinkedIn more so because if I want to do professional networking, that's a good place to do it. And for Instagram, trying to work on my static content, so my graphic design and everything on those fronts, so that way I can make useful content for you guys and at the same time build my own skill set that I can use later on down the line. And that's what those 4 months really were about, trying to find a system that worked for me, trying to improve my editing because even though I edited videos in the past, it was nowhere near what I had now in terms of tools and resources and programs. And I'm still learning. I'm still a very amateur editor. But it is nice being able to look back and say, I have actually come a really long way since then. And that's really cool. And I need to keep making those 1% improvements. During those 4 months, it obviously occurred to me because I was not earning any active income. I took up little side hustles. So I was still doing YouTube, but this is a long-term game. So I'm not making any money off it right now. I started doing DoorDash. I had debated doing Uber. I was trying to sell more on Etsy for the spray paint so that way I could actually have some more income coming in. And eventually, because I did have a safety net in place, which is one of the reasons I felt okay quitting my job when I had last year, was that I was able to then say, okay, I need to obviously be able to pay rent. I got to pay bills, and maybe I should just get a part-time job. Maybe I should just work some normal hours and have a steady paycheck coming in while I do everything else on the side. But the main goal still is to build this YouTube channel up, build this community, and build this kind of library of assets that you guys can use and just play the long term with it. That's still the goal. And that's still the goal I'm following. However, I kind of like having a roof over my head and food on the table. So that's important too. And that's what I did. I ended up going back into retail to get another job. And now I will admit that was probably not my brightest idea either. Because I feel bad leaving work when there's still a lot going on or when I've only been there for a little bit. So if you saw that video on my YouTube channel, I left that job after only 39 days and I feel really bad about that because it was a smaller mom and pop type of craft store and there was a lot of potential there. There was a lot that I think they could do to kind of dominate a certain region or dominate a certain area. And there was a lot that I wanted to help them with on social media as I was learning about it. However, there's also the other matter, and I talk about life and career. The career part was okay. That was fine. It was the fact that my life also had to have some adjustments to it. And so I wanted to continue living in my apartment. I wanted to make sure that I was able to keep maintaining a good savings rate because that's super important for anything, knowing that there's a high percentage of people in the United States that can't go past $1,000 emergency. And I didn't want that to continue to be the case for me. So I played it safe and I got another job. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I want to make that abundantly clear is that when you are trying to change fields, trying to change careers, or even just tithe yourself over, there's nothing wrong with getting another job because your ability to take care of business, so your rent, your bills, your loved ones, if applicable, and your basic needs is so important. So don't neglect that and don't feel bad about that if that's what you need to do. And as I was going through that process and working with that small little store, I then ended up jumping into manufacturing. So I did an actual field shift this time and left retail entirely and went into manufacturing. And that was an interesting experience. So on the day in which I'm filming this, so this is May 4th. Hey, Star Wars Day. Cool. I just remembered that. May the force be with you. But it's been 6 months since I had that job. So I officially had my last day yesterday, May 3rd, actually, because this coming Monday, May 8th, I'm doing another shift and I'm going into a recruiting agency. And this sounds like a lot of hopping around, and it kind of feels like it is. One of the things, though, that I've been trying to feel more comfortable with is the fact that I'm only 23. So the fact that I'm so young is reason enough, I believe, and for those of you out there as well who are kind of around my age range or are even just curious about new fields, don't let yourself get caught by the idea of the sunk cost fallacy. Because you invested time into something, because you put so much effort into something, that doesn't mean it's going to be the right path to follow forever. You should feel and figure out how to feel okay changing directions. So the fact that I'm leaving manufacturing, so it was half weeks with every other Wednesday I'd work, so I'd have 3-day weeks, and then I'd have 4-day weeks, then 3-day weeks, then 4-day weeks. 12-hour shifts was a bit much. And at this point now, I'm actually going to have one of the first 9-to-5s I've ever had in my life. Actually ever had in my career so far. That's pretty cool. I'm excited for that. I don't know what change that's going to be like. However, that's why I'm using my age to my advantage. That I have time to learn. And the thing is, no matter what your age is, you should feel okay taking time to learn and explore new things. Now, of course, and I don't want to make this seem like, oh, no matter what age you are, you can always go off and pursue your dreams. I believe you can. However, I do believe as you grow older and as you go through different chapters of your life, that does require a bit more planning, a bit more preparation. So right now, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I have time on my side to actively switch careers, switch fields, and learn new things, experience new things, and hone in on what I want to do long term. And I want you guys to be able to do that too. However, this is why I said it's important to know if someone is, say, 40 and they have 2 kids, a mortgage, they're trying to balance out their career, but it's not exactly fulfilling for them anymore, they have to have a lot more caution about how they would change fields, what they would do to make that jump or make that leap, because it is a leap. And if you take that leap, I want you to know that that is one, extremely brave to do so, because it's not the easiest thing to say, I don't like what I'm doing. And the work itself takes me away from my family. It takes me away from the goal that I had for myself in the past. And it's putting me on a path and a journey that I don't want to go on. So taking control of your own story, of your own adventure, does require planning and does require that you take into account your circumstances, your situation, whatever they are, and from there, plan accordingly. So I want to really drive that point home, is plan accordingly, because we're all on our own adventure. And I want you guys to be able to lead the best adventure possible, because that's what life is. And that's what I'm learning as I continue to go through different careers and as I continue to try to build this channel and this podcast now. It's fun. And that's the piece that I was really looking for, and I think I was really missing just as a whole so far in the careers I've had. When I had my first job with that retail company, I was having a whole lot of fun. And it wasn't tiring. I wasn't burnt out. I was just having a good time with a good team. Then the next step, the fun kind of disappeared after a while. And it's not that I was disillusioned or anything. It was more so a unfortunate conflict of interest. and one that I didn't want to continue to go down, a path that I didn't want to follow. And so the sabbatical came. The sabbatical, I think, went great. It was so wonderful being able to take time for myself, build something for myself, and then start to figure out how can I take what I've learned, take the things I've done, because after graduating from university, after starting a small online business, after so many things, it's been a fulfilling journey so far that I can see the lessons that I've learned, obviously looking back, and that's the piece that means so much. And that's why I say this is an adventure and why it's been so important to kind of redefine it as I go. And as a result, that brings us to today. So again, it's May 4th. And the thing that I really want to do is, like I said, this is a long-term play. So this podcast, Keeping Everything Simple podcast, the YouTube channel, Michael Klukas at youtube.com. That sounded really salesy. I'm going to live with it. I have my own website now. I had the website for a long time. However, it's been a work in progress now to make it actually something that provides good value to anyone that comes to it to find a career they enjoy, or to change jobs, or even just to work on developing their own mindfulness about what type of life they want to lead and how they're leading it, how they're showing up in the world. So michaelklukas.com was born. And that becomes kind of the core focus of the progress that I want to make. The core focus being, I want to be the type of creator that provides value. That because there was a lot of loose ends that I wasn't able to tie up when I had left retail a year ago, that unfortunately I feel bad about. I look back on and I have regrets about the actions I took and the things that I wasn't able to do because of my short foresight, because I didn't look forward enough and say, I want to actually impact this team and impact my team members in the best way possible and leave them with something that will actually benefit them in the long run. So from there, it led me to here. I've gone through a couple of different jobs since then. I've tried multiple times to build something that's sustainable, and that's gonna be a continual work in progress. So this chapter in my life right now that I'm in, this works. I can do my weekly uploads. I can try, and I plan to keep trying to make good content that actually is helpful, that you guys can relate to, that has good advice, that has good stories to it, because life is an adventure, and the adventures we're going to go on is largely determined by what path we choose, what knowledge we find, and just ultimately what's going to be the life of least regret. So I left behind some big regrets. I still have some things that I have to go do. So for one thing, I should probably go and apologize to my old boss. Like, at the very least, that's one thing I think I should do and I want to follow through on, which I'll give you guys an update when that happens. Because it really is all on me. There's factors out of my control, sure. And this is going to be a story that you're going to hear multiple times throughout your life and multiple times throughout your career. There will definitely be times which you have no control over anything that goes wrong. Because if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That is Murphy's Law, and it is real. Like, it is so real, and it's nuts. However, that's why it's so important that we do take ownership for what we can control, what we can do. So the fact that I left behind some loose ends, I can't really go back and tie them up. What I can do is I can go back and take ownership of my actions. The condolence card, not good. I need to go apologize for that. Right now, the fact that I'm changing careers, going into a new field, I'm taking ownership of that because I want to learn. I want to do good in a way that actually leaves someone's life a little bit better. That anyone that I come across, anyone that comes across this podcast, this YouTube channel, and they happen to walk away with a bit more of an understanding of what they want to do, another resource, they feel like there's someone out there that understands what's going on through their mind as they're feeling burnt out or as they are trying to define what their actual goal or mission for their life is. That's a lot of work. And I want to help people figure that out. And at the same time, I'm still figuring that out too. The more I dive into things like counseling and podcasts and courses, books, journaling, and just all these different things, these different tactics and different tools that I am amassing throughout my adventure, I want to be able to then distill that information for you guys. So the reason I say you deserve a life and career that you love is because you do. If you're going to spend 80,000 hours on average, a third of your life at work, you deserve a career that you love. And you have one life here on this planet, here on this earth. And you deserve to lead it to have one of least regret. So to put more good in this world, have a net positive outcome and net positive benefit on those around you, those that you impact in a positive way. The more that I learn and the more that I can try to simplify some of these complex topics or some of these complex questions, because they are big. They are super, super big. And that's kind of the fun of it. Like this idea right now that because I'm young, there's a lot that I don't know. However, that also means there's a lot that I really, really want to learn. And that means I'm going to learn them. I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to try to learn more about personal development, learn more about mindfulness, because emotions are a part of who you are. You can't really run away from them, so you should really learn about them. Learn about productivity, learn about mental health, learn about how to create a career that you enjoy, or defining what a career even is, because a career is different than a job. And that's something that I was introduced to while I was in university, and that learning blew my mind. And there's just so much more that is out there, and so much more that I want to share with you guys. The challenge that I really want to leave you guys with is take a step back. And you can write this in your phone. If you journal, you can write it in your journal. If you don't like either of those, just think on this question. What is the adventure you want to have? Are you someone that wants to go to faraway places? Are you someone that wants to build a lasting impact? Are you someone that wants to just continue to improve yourself and redefine who you are? There's so many different types of ventures out there. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is define and figure out what is the adventure you want to go on, the adventure you want to lead, because you have one life on this earth, and that is one opportunity right there to lead a huge adventure. There's going to be many side quests all along the way. There's going to be plenty of trials and tribulations. However, that's what makes it an adventure. That's what makes it an epic. So that's my challenge to you. Ask yourself and really think on it. What is the type of adventure you want to lead? And I'm going to do this too, because it's going to keep changing. There's going to be that long-term, long horizon, what I want to do, what I want out of life. And that's just going to get more and more clear as I go through and clear these side quests, clear these mini bosses, and really redefine what path I'm going down. And that's my challenge to you guys, just really thinking about the adventure that you want and why you want it. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to on a podcast app, be sure you like the show and give it a rating on the iTunes store if you can. And I will either hopefully see you in another video or be here on the next podcast. Keeping everything simple. Have an amazing day, you amazing people, and go out there and leave a net positive impact on the world.